Nowhere will you see anything to compare with this, the greatest show on earth. Hey, hooray, 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 step right up and see the most unusual, injury-defying, death-defying creatures in the universe. Hey, hooray, 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 the amazing sensation, the scientific wonder, the one and only Cutabus. Come and see the Burnabus, defying wonder of the world. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, see the hurtling Hitabus, the unheardable hindrance to highway happiness. Hey, hurry! Hurry, hurry, and learn the secret of the tantalizing tent of mystery. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to begin.
Well, you'll certainly have to admit, this is a strange assortment of, well, they are creatures. Look at that crazy Cutabus. Not even scratched. Sure, but look closer. Steel for skin. No wonder it doesn't have to worry about getting cut by open jackknives or jagged metal. But take a human being's skin, soft, flexible, better than tissue paper. That's why a human being has to play it safe, always cuts away from himself. If the knife slips, no damage is done. He keeps his fingers well away from the edge of a knife, behind the blade, behind the business end or edge of any sharp tool. And he knows there's no better place for a sharp tool when it's not being used than in a rack, up and out of the way. And what's good for tools in a workshop is also good for knives in kitchens. In fact, for anything sharp or pointed. Use properly, store properly. That's the way to protect tissue paper skin. Lucky Cutabus. No cuts, no punctures, no need to remember safety rules about the use of knives. Uh-oh. Well, what do you know? No better than that old cracked egg Humpty Dumpty. Now, when it comes to falling, there's no luckier creature than this old windbag, the Fallabus. He's light and he's bouncy, and he's supposed to have a built-in gravity resistor. Gravity resistors we know nothing about. Gravity we do. Take a boy up in a tree, about 20 feet, about as high as an upstairs window of a home. Falling from this height, he'd land at a speed of 25 miles an hour. Why? Gravity. That'd be just like going as fast as he could on his bike and then crashing into a solid brick wall. And funny thing, sometimes a 1-foot fall can be just as bad as a 20-foot fall. Ah, so what, and so why care, says our flouncing friend. It can well feel this way about falling. It can bounce. So, it never gives a single thought to the dangers of standing on a wobbly rocking chair, or climbing up on rickety boxes, or using a stepladder with a broken step, or stepping on a dead branch. Yes, lucky Fallabus, it can float in air. But we can't. We have weight. Another thing, we have bones, about 200, all shapes and sizes. Treat them rough, and they crack or break. No wonder a human being is careful about climbing, whether a few feet off the floor or quite a few feet off the ground. What he stands on has to be sturdy, and no chance of it slipping. For instance, a ladder is safe for climbing only when the feet are firmly anchored, or when someone holds the ladder. Sure, it's simple. What safety rule isn't? Then there's this tricky thing called balance. Just a matter of keeping weight evenly distributed. Now, as long as this boy stands straight, he's safe. Now he's slightly off balance, and he'd better be careful. Leans way out, and he's in trouble. He's top-heavy. he loses his balance. One crash landing. So instead of reaching way out, a human being moves the ladder to a new spot and leaves flying through the air to the birds. But this business of keeping one's balance is just as important on the ground as it is off the ground. That's why this sort of thing spells danger in capital letters. Same here. Yes, big things as well as small things. Same with school books, a toy truck, a baseball bat, one of Dad's garden tools. Whatever it is, if it's lying around where people walk, it's dangerous. Of course, all this is a bunch of nonsense to the Fallabus, who has never tripped over anything in its life. Couldn't if it tried. Lucky? Well, not entirely. But now take the Shootabus. Things that shoot don't seem to bother it at all. But why should they? This creature with cross ventilation is already 72% nothing. A few more holes? He should worry. Now, as we all know, shooting things pack a lot of power. This kind of power can be mighty rough when it lands on human beings, who are made up of complicated and delicate organs, tubes, and tissues. That's why human beings make such a to-do over handling and using firearms the safe way. That's why before using a gun, this fellow learns from someone who really knows the right way to handle it. Same with loading, aiming, all the safety rules every good sportsman should know. He shoots only at targets except when hunting, and only when and where no other people are around. That gun is always loaded as far as he is concerned. And that one rule alone can save a lot of embarrassment and possible injuries. Fool with someone else's guns without permission? Not even just to show a friend. Yes, to be safe, a human being has to remember a lot of rules, while our air-conditioned friend doesn't have to remember a single one. But while guns can't hurt it, look what heat does. Nothing left but the holes. Let's move on to the Burnabus. Heat leaves it absolutely cold. Well, cool anyway. It's made of asbestos. Fuzzy, but it just won't burn. But there's nothing unburnable about human beings. We can get burned, and badly. From anything as hot as 140 degrees, in fact. This is just a little hotter than water out of most hot water faucets, 140 degrees. Yet steam runs around 212 degrees. Cooking grease gets up to 400 degrees. A lighted match up to 2100 degrees. Burning clothing as high as 2000 degrees. And only 140 degree heat can burn skin seriously. So, pots and pans are always turned so handles won't get bumped. That way the hot stuff stays in the pans. You take hot pads, great little inventions, the right thing to use for handling hot dishes and pans. So the rule for any tool or implement using heat is simply treat with respect and handle with care. That goes double when dealing with open fires. The only safe fire is one that is completely under control and one that stays where you want it to stay. The only good matches to carry are safety matches, or matches kept in a closed metal container. Small campfires are better than big ones, better to cook over, take less wood, and a lot easier to put out. Now, as every scout knows, if you break a match in two before throwing it away, you can be sure it's out. And just as with matches, the only kind of campfire to go off and leave is one that is out, completely out. Yes, the Burnabus is fuzzy, but lucky. Can't get scalded, can't get burned. But my, oh my, does it go to pieces fast when it gets in front of a moving car or truck. Now, this cocky, clangy creature continually makes connections with conveyances and no cause for concern. Lucky Hitabus with its spring protector. This human beings don't have. So, keeping a sharp lookout for cars is the #1 safety rule for pedestrians. Look at it this way. It takes a pretty good trackman to run 100 yards in anything close to 10 seconds. Yet most human beings can cover a short distance like this in a second or two. Same with this distance. Now, 2 seconds doesn't give much time to look out for approaching cars. And not much time either for a driver to screech his car to a stop. So, rather than try to beat a signal light as it's changing, smart human beings wait for the green and then cross the street. And even when the light is green, it's safer to walk rather than run. Particularly on corners where there are no traffic lights. You can keep a better lookout for any car that may zip around the corner. And walking is a good idea on crowded sidewalks, too. Same with going through special playgrounds for small children. The safe rule is walk, don't run. And no matter how many runs score, the smart ball player stops and looks both ways before shagging a ball. With none of these rules to remember, the Hitabus can be carefree and careless. In a way, it's pretty lucky. And in a way, it isn't. No, for luck to really count, it's got to be all the way. It's got to be 100%. And not a single one of these creatures can claim that. Certainly not the Cutabus, Fallabus either. Shootabus? Mm-mm. Burnabus? Hardly. Hitabus? No. Sure, they all had a little luck, but a little luck doesn't go very far. Actually, there is only one kind of creature who can be completely safe, and that creature is you. Yes, lucky you. You are cuttable, breakable, puncturable, burnable, hurtable, drownable, yet you can be 100% lucky because you can think, and stopping to think can prevent accidents. For instance, say you're about to take a dive off a strange dock, and you're not sure about how deep the water is or what's on the bottom. When you stop to think, you don't take that dive. The same with deep water swimming, if you're a rookie or even a fair swimmer. When you stop to think, you stay in safe water with your buddy. Say you get the notion to fool around in a canoe or a boat, maybe feel like switching places. When you stop and think, you change your mind and stay put until you get back to the dock or shore. And this business of pulling up close behind a truck. What if the truck stops suddenly or slows down fast to turn a corner? When you ask yourself these questions, you always keep a good distance back. 1 out of every 4 pedestrian injuries is caused by people crossing streets between intersections. Whenever you stop to think of this, you change your mind and go down to the next corner to cross. Funny, the better you're dressed, the more tempting it can be to climb around on buildings under construction. But whether in Sunday or old clothes, the speed with which you hit the ground is the same. When you stop and think, you always change your mind about climbing and move on. And this silly business of taking a dare. When you stop and think of who stands to get hurt, you always figure it's not worth the risk. Anyway, what sports star ever takes a dare? All of a sudden, it may seem like a good idea to throw something, say a rock. Where will it land? How can you be sure? Even big league pitchers throw wild once in a while. When you think about it a second, you drop the rock and go on your way. Take aiming a gun at someone in fun. When you stop and think of the accidents that have happened just this way, you always kick that silly idea out of your mind fast. It boils down to this. Whenever you stop to think, you always prevent an accident. And unlike the Cutabus, the Fallabus, the Shootabus, the Burnabus, and the Hitabus, who are only lucky in a very small way and who never think, you can be completely lucky. And all because you can think.